Snoop Dogg. There's no reason Snoop Dogg should still be famous today. Years ago. But you know why he's still famous? In 2022, Matt Rife made about $55,000 in comedy. In 2023, he made $55 million. That's a start from day one.
Yeah.
And sure, he happens to be extremely good looking and white. Great. If you notice, a good business creates a personal connection with each and every one of their customers. Or that connection creates brand loyalty.
My man had the front, center, middle. It's packed, right? Yo, I just want to give a shout out to my guy, Donnie Bravo. He just dropped an amazing project. Everybody in there's giving me a round of applause. I'm on a high. And that's when I was like, oh, this guy gets it from a business standpoint.
That's interesting to me because I hear Chick-fil-A customer service. Honestly, your product is the comedy, but the service is your relatability.
By service,
Right.
customers. Marketing is not saying we are creators. They're saying we're propaganda artists.
There's no soul to that.
No, it's not.
That's not true.
That's
That's not true.
Having worked in big agencies though, let me just tell you.
Welcome to the Business and Bullshit podcast. I'm Steve Murray here with Don Brown, and today we have our very first guest, who's an actor, entertainer with the longest running show in Hollywood, 12 years, and on a multicultural comedian, a Georgetown Law grad. There's a number of things that I could say about you. Welcome, Tehran Von Ghasri.
Thank you so much. First of all, I just want to say I admire both of you gentlemen, and I'll tell you how much so. I admire you so much that I was willing to come downtown after dark, which says a lot. Like, I'm putting my life on the line to be here because this podcast, I just feel so much greatness coming from it.
Yeah.
And we all know, listen, after dark, downtown LA becomes I Am Legend. So I ran into the building, and I'm in here just for both of you. So thank you so much for having me. Hopefully, this isn't my last podcast of my career.
Hey man, I speak on behalf of Steve and myself, and you've always been a good friend, man. We all leave out together, man.
For sure.
But we appreciate you being here. We feel the same way about this platform, trying to build something special, and it's really not about us. It's for the people out there to get gems and get inspiration at the intersection of creativity, but also entrepreneurship and ambition. Steve was like, man, we got to get Tehran. Like, he embodies everything. So everything that we do here is about the intersection of those two worlds and trying to make it more relatable to people and not be another boring business podcast.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
the only person who was willing to be downtown, which is also that thing. Like, they went through the list. Like, I was
we started downtown.
I was
We are
Dan Hurley. I was JJ Redick. I was like, they asked, and then they were like, fine, here's a 4-year deal.
The Lakers are downtown.
Yeah.
The Lakers are
The
downtown.
Lakers don't live here.
They might got a
Yo,
condo.
have you ever seen them
One of them got a
Have
condo.
you ever
down
seen
here.
them live? Have you ever seen them leave the game? Have you ever seen them leave
Yeah,
in the bus the other way? Just leave.
They
Like,
go west.
Yeah, they go west.
And
No,
north.
but honestly, downtown's growing. It really is growing into a metropolis.
Killing them.
Yo,
He killing down.
I know
He
people
ain't
who are downtown are
LA.
gonna like look at they don't watch business podcasts anyway. Fine. You think
Hey man, a lot of
You think
successful
it's
business people downtown.
yeah, but
What
the
industry?
crackheads aren't gonna watch it, so it's fine.
Listen, we love the crackheads. We love y'all too.
Yo, let me start with this. You're a Georgetown Law grad.
Let's stop saying the name of schools, and I'll tell you why. Every time they hear it, they ask for money. So it's like that's how they work. That's
Well,
how,
you're probably one of
it's
the
a
more
business.
successful comedians.
I mean, yeah.
You can pay them.
I'm not paying. Listen,
Are you paying?
Yeah.
You paying to
He doesn't attribute. He doesn't
You have
contribute.
to- I don't contribute a lot, but I contribute because
Yeah, I feel you.
that's part of the thing. But honestly, just having education when it comes to anything. First of all, sometimes it can seem like it's a waste of money, but that's only if you're going to education to put it on your resume. Then of course it's a waste of money.
Yeah.
If you're looking as it being a job skill, that's how it works, right? That's the way a lot of people look. Like, I'm gonna go to college so I can get this job. What if you go get education so you can have a career? That's a different investment in self. Because no matter what they take from you, they can never take your education. They never can. And that's something that comes from my immigrant background. My father's from Iran. When you come to America, a lot of Iranians came here. No matter how much money they had overseas or how much they had, all of that was gone. A lot of them came here with nothing. That's why you hear a lot of immigrant stories where they came to America with nothing. But the one thing they did come with was hard work ethic and the willingness, if not already having the education.
Yeah.
And then built themselves up, whether they're Nigerian, Iranian, Jamaican, whatever. that work ethic comes from a willingness to do whatever it takes.
I wonder if does your education help or hurt you on social media? Because sometimes you'll see like skit comedians who do like shock value content, right? But
Sure.
I go, oh, somebody like Tehran, maybe his brain is a little too smart to want to do stuff like that.
100%. Listen, that's the problem. Perfection is the enemy of progress. And when you, at times, when you start thinking everything's stupid, that's why you see so many people that you assume are stupid or whatever in your field. So many people are like, man, he's so dumb. How's he making it? Because he's dumb.
Yeah.
Because he's not overthinking. You will think yourself out of happiness. You rarely think yourself into happiness. So they're not overthinking. So I'll tell you the story of one of my favorite inspirations when it comes to this. There was a time where an A&R and a management took an artist to a label, and they were like, this is my artist. And they were like, well, what's he talking about? And they were like, well, he talks about drugs and bitches and money and
Regular rap
shit. And they were like, well, what makes him special? They were like, well, he says burr. And they were like, what? No, this is dumb. What's his name? And they literally looked at him like, his name? He's a man who likes Gucci. Gucci Mane. Sign him. Now, at the time, that had to be the dumbest name of all time. In a time and an era where people were like, my name is Tech because the T stands for traversing, E stands for empowerment. He just said, I'm Gucci Mane. And while everyone else was trying to come up with all these acronyms and ideas, and he just created content and realized content was king and put out song after song after song. And he was like, who's your best friend? Oh, it's another guy named Waka Flocka Flynn. That was his best friend. And none of us questioned it. Because that's the idea of greatness is you're great before everyone else.
Yeah.
So he just started doing it while other people were still thinking about it.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. I forgot who, it might have been Alfred Hitchcock or somebody, one of those old directors had a quote about, he won an Oscar for one of the early movies, and it was like, what made you, like, what spurred on your ability to do this, to make a film like this? And that's what he said. He was pretty much like, ignorance was my biggest contributor because I didn't know the rules.
I
didn't know the rules, I didn't know what I couldn't do or what shot you weren't supposed to do, or it wasn't supposed to look this way or look that way. And for that reason, he was actually able to revolutionize. And people thought he was a genius, but he was like, I didn't know that you weren't supposed to shoot this way. But when it was done, because he just was leading with his own creativity and not what he was supposed to do, the end result, everybody's, wow, he's a genius.
100%.
And he was like, this is my first movie. I just was trying to do
I'm
what
sorry.
I thought.
Sounds of downtown.
They're coming to
They're here
get
to
you.
protect you.
Yeah, they're probably.
Yeah, protect and serve.
All right, come on. We want all sponsors.
Yeah, exactly. Wherever they come from, if they got the budget. I think, I'm sorry, I gotta ask this question, and it's not like to stir up controversy. How would you compare like your style of comedy to a Desi Banks or a King Batch? And I want to frame it a little bit. They're great at skits. But I feel like in my mind, people respect stand-up comedy and a little bit more than skit comedy.
Sure, but that's because it's a different skill set. So I don't compare myself to them, and I don't knock them. A lot of comedians do. I don't, because honestly, what they're doing is also a form of genius.
Right.
You don't just happen into 20 million followers.
Right.
You don't.
Right.
And the technical truth is, no matter what you do, whatever creative art you do, people always like to be like, I'm so good. Well, it's not just called good. Yeah. It's not called show good. It's not called show talent. It's called show business. And one of the aspects of business, and it should be called business show, because the business aspect is much more important than the show aspect.
Yeah.
The idea is every single show that you do, whether you're a musical artist or you do actual visual arts and paintings, or you're a stand-up comedian, you have to pack out the place. If there's no one buying your art, I don't care how good you are. You're not Picasso. I don't care if Picasso sucks and you're great. They bought his paintings and not yours. That's it.
Facts.
Okay.
For some reason.
So at some point there's a balance between my talent and what is wanted and desired. There needs to be that economic balance of that want and have basis. What do I have that they want? And a lot of people don't see that. It's obviously Desi and Batch has something that people want. And they create short form content. They're creating short movies, basically, 1 minute long, and they're getting that out there. The only criticism I ever have of sketch comedians is when they take stand-up comedy ideas, they hear it from a stand-up comedian, and then they just manifest it into a more popular visual art, and they create a video out of it, and now it becomes their idea. So, no, you didn't come up with that. This came from here.
You stole the material.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, what's the proper way to do that? to credit
The proper way is not to do it.
Yeah.
It's to not do it because it's someone else's line.
The joke itself is stolen.
Exactly.
Yeah, the material, the thing that made, whatever it is that made people laugh, that came out the other person's
The
brain.
premise is not your premise.
Yeah.
You did not come up with that idea.
But see, in advertising, that's like a normal practice a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, it's a normal practice to
Regurgitate.
a concept, especially right now on social media. The top trend is taking a clip of something that was viral for the first 3 seconds and you, what is it called? You remix it. It's an actual button. It's a remix button to do it. Or they say a stitch on TikTok, right? So that's why sometimes with like online media and then stand-up, because of how you preserve stand-up to be able to continue to tour, how do you find that balance between the two, or what is considered okay?
Let's examine this real quick. Marketing is not a form. They're not saying we are creators. They're saying we're propaganda artists. Like we're creating, we're manipulating.
There's
your
no soul to that.
consumption.
It's straight.
No, it's not.
That's not true. That's not true.
I'm saying-
That's not true.
Okay, having
not
worked in
true.
big agencies though, let me just tell you, like, there's no moral code.
Sometimes.
Like, it's sales. It's just like anything else in America. It's purely capitalistically motivated.
I
so
watch
like,
Mad Men.
It might have elements of we want to move the culture, we want to do the right thing, whatever. But at the end of the day, you're selling Hondas or Levi's jeans or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And if that funny joke was somebody else's joke, believe you me, because I've been in those rooms, the only black dude in that room. And they're like, we should do this. No one's raising their hand like, well, the artistic integrity.
Yeah.
If they're like, yo, the client is buying that, they think this shit is funny, because all advertising is, no disrespect to anybody who works, I worked and continue to work at advertising.
I have a
It's-
black friend. That's his word.
That's his word.
I have an advertising friend.
Those blood
fuck outta
sucking
here.
vampire, immoral capitalist pigs.
I mean, yeah, right? And so it has this reputation for being like a part of the creative world. Don't get me wrong. It is 100% an extension of capitalistic corporate greed with a little bit of paint and like some nice writing on it. That's all it is at the end of the day. So they don't care. No one's going to stop and be like, man, Tehran is the one that really wrote that. Now, what they might do, if they have some sense of morality, is reach out, okay, well, if it's super specific.
Add you on as a
Yeah,
producer.
like let's say,
True.
but let's say the guy that was like
Fair.
roller skating, he was listening to Fleetwood Mac and he was on the skateboard and he had the cranberry juice. That dude, right? It's, okay, if it's that specific, the brand kind of has to involve him. Like you can't recreate the concept without him because the consumer is gonna be like, bro, you're biting. Like you stole that from this guy. Like he's clearly known for this one thing. But if they could get away with it, bro, they absolutely will.
Well, sometimes, and there's a lot of creativity in advertisement and marketing as well. It's just we know who those brands are, and then there's a lot of the minor ones who just copycat. The major ones don't do that.
Yeah.
They create and they come up with trends. They definitely Virgil Abloh their way into being ahead of the trend. And so
absolutely.
let's not take away from them. But that integrity doesn't. I don't expect that integrity out of them the same way that I don't expect the same integrity out of a guy who's just freestyling on the corner, right? So you're freestyling and you throwing a line from this guy and a line from that guy. But when Jay-Z did it, what did we do? We questioned his greatness even though he's clearly a great. Simply because they were like, oh, why did he take a Biggie line? Even though he's actually giving tribute. He's actually showing respect to that by doing that. So, but when it comes to comedy, they're not even showing respect.
Yeah.
What they're doing is like just
Biting it.
stealing
Okay,
an idea.
okay.
They're stealing an idea, whatever it is, and they're putting it out there. Fat Jewish is a perfect perpetrator of this. Fat Jewish had a page. He would go in, take comedians' content. He would go through he would go to comedy clubs, send people to comedy clubs, and then just create a meme or a post or do it as if it was his own. And when it came time for him to get his big deal with Comedy Central, comedians did. They all got together and said, if you give that guy a deal, you're losing all of us.
I didn't know that.
That's a real thing.
You can only get so far with those kind of tactics. Like it might work for a minute, but you're not gonna actually rise to the top of your field.
Yeah.
Where you move in like blatant disregard. Sometimes creative concepts just intersect. Sometimes you thought of the same joke I thought of, and I never heard you say that joke.
Parallel
Or like,
thought. It's called parallel thought.
yeah, like it happens.
It
Like,
happens a lot. It
yeah.
actually happened with Dennis the Menace. There was an American creator who had Dennis the Menace. There was a British creator who had Dennis the Menace. Neither one of them clearly had any communication between the two. No communique, nothing. They both came up with this idea of a little boy who was named Dennis who was a menace in their neighborhood. It was a little different, but very much the same. So much so that they both actually went to court and came up with an understanding that, hey, Dennis the Menace in the UK is yours, and Dennis the Menace in America is
There's a
mine.
British Dennis the
There's a
Menace.
British
I never.
Yeah,
fucking
it's
knew
more,
that.
but whatever.
He probably
That
ain't as
idea-
bad.
Parallel thought happens a lot.
Yeah.
It happens a lot. And here's the thing. It also happens the most with low-hanging fruit concepts.
Yeah.
So no one's getting mad. If a
not
guy
that original.
in a green
Yeah.
puffy jacket walks by and I go, oh, look at Kermit, this Kermit the Frog looking motherfucker, and you look at him 5-10 minutes later and say the same thing, you didn't get that from me. Kermit the Frog is a ubiquitous idea of a character that we're all familiar with. This guy's wearing green,
Georgetown Law.
and then boom.
Ubiquitous.
You put these together and you go, oh, there we go. That's Kermit the Frog. However, there are times where things are specific, like you said, Fleetwood Mac, skateboard, cranberry juice.
If you we
That's
know
that
you're,
guy's
yeah, that you didn't. That can't be parody.
And some of these guys, and by the way, when we say that, Batch and Desi are not included in that group. They actually come up with ideas. And while I'm not always a fan of all their ideas, I know it's their ideas.
Yeah,
They keep creating content and
That's
they create it.
original.
And I'm not a fan of every Drake or Kendrick song either. There's songs you like, some that's a matter of taste. But well, in the case of Kendrick, it's his.
Yeah.
And so that idea, I didn't do it. So listen, so the idea of it is that creative integrity is extremely important when it comes to two things, rap and comedy. Why? Because we're buying into the you.
Yeah.
And since we buy into the you, and it's organic and it's true and it's intrinsic and it's supposed to be the truest, realest you that you present, which is why in these two fields especially, you have to be the realest self. That's why when you go on stage, a professional comedian, first thing you do is remove the mic and put it behind you. You know why? It's not because the mic is just a mic stand. You move the mic stand because you're removing the metaphysical, physical, and literal wall between you and the audience. And that's what it comes down to.
So if a comedian doesn't do that, is that
Unless it's
amateur
part
or-
of their
show.
their show where they're the mic comedian, the first thing a booker will look at is that you didn't do that, and they're like, oh,
I always
they're green.
wonder what that
You're
was.
green.
Like when I go to comedy clubs. Now that you say that,
You're
I'm like,
green.
why do they move the mic and then they can
Yeah,
go
that's
back?
the number one thing. No matter how good you are, most bookers will be like, oh, that person is very new. We can't put them on.
But Neil Brennan is a mic comedian.
Yeah, he likes that wall, but that's the person
But
Neil is.
it's
That's
in
it.
his story of how he builds the. You watch it and you go, oh, this is a part of the show.
This
Don't
is
say-
part. He
Yeah.
utilizes it. Because he was that comedian to begin with, and he started utilizing it and making it happen. Neil Brennan's a creative mind. He's an outlier. He's one of the smartest people. But there's also a reality factor to comedians, and that's why Chappelle and Neil Brennan, even though Neil Brennan is brilliant, and Neil Brennan wrote stuff, when Chappelle performs it, it feels way more real. So we gravitate towards it.
Yeah.
We gravitate towards real. Why 50 Cent's first album drops? Oh my God, Get Rich or Die Trying. That was it. Shut down music for that whole 2 years. Why don't we care that 50 Cent came out with an album last year? Because we no longer believe him. We understand we like him as making power, but we don't believe him. You did a shootout yesterday? Come on, bro.
Yeah.
So that's what happens. And that's why I always say about comedy and rap, because they have a lot of overlaying similarities. With rap, it's the least amount of musical acumen you can have and still be considered a musician. Okay? And it seems so easy because rappers make it seem so easy and
It's
it seems
not.
fun. And people think a 3-minute song took 3 minutes to make, and so everyone wants to be a rapper, and everyone thinks they can do it because they had one little rhyme in front of their mirror. But the truth is, it is not.
Yeah.
Being able to ride the beat, whatever it is.
And to
Comedy,
succeed
same
at
thing.
it, yeah.
Timing. You have the same thing. We're writing songs too. Our material is the same thing as writing out lyrics.
Yeah.
And it's about timing, it's about punchlines, it's about having the bridge and the hook. A musician goes on stage, you know what I'm saying, plays an instrument, and the music they make, right? Whatever, that's the music, right? So as a performer, as a comedian, I'm doing the same thing. My instrument is the audience, and the music I make is laughter. That's all it is. And that's, Chappelle put that eloquently in, it's forever the truth.
Yeah. So with that, I know you talked a bit about the difference, like with the social kind of skit comedians but in comparison to you.
It's just a different, it's
Yeah.
like,
So-
some people are Nirvana, some
Yeah.
people are Blink-182. How come when it comes to that time, they never complain about it, but
Yeah, but
we do all the
you're
time.
respected in the tour, in the physical, like in the comedy
In the comedy world, sure.
right? How do you look at social media specifically from a marketing lens, knowing that you're not like making content, you're not a creator.
creator.
Yeah, that's not your draw. You're like, look, I'm at the Laugh Factory.
You got to come to a show.
Yeah,
I'm a live comedian.
Yeah, so then
Most
how do
people.
you, when you look at social media, how do you look at it?
I'm wrong. What people should do if they're a comedian, and it's just because of the generation of comedian that I came from, I just missed it. Just like if you're like, if right now, if you are a 17-year-old, you have the best chance of being famous because you are acclimated to TikTok rather than if you're 27, right? It's just, you missed that window You might be more on Instagram, whatever it is. Okay. So I just came in where Instagram and social media was not respected, and so people weren't doing that. However, what social media does is it gets your value out there. It gets, like I said, the more people you can bring to fill up a room. Every show's a bringer show. The difference is I do a show, I bring 100 or 1,000, like to a theater. Kevin Hart does a show, he brings 100,000. If I bring 100,000, I'm Kevin Hart. So shout out to all these people who are creating on social media. They're doing that, democratizing comedy in all their art forms. I have a lot of respect for them. I have a lot of respect for Matt Rife simply because he did both. Matt Rife put in the work. He put in the work, and I know that because I saw it from day one. And then he also blew up on TikTok. It was not, and sure, he had a lot of things going for him. He happens to be extremely good looking and white. Great. But at the same time, he put in a lot of work, and being good looking and white did not do any of that work for him. And then he pivoted into TikTok and pushed his brand on TikTok, and now we're seeing something that's real. In 2022, Matt Rife made about $55,000 in comedy. In 2023, he made $55 million. That's who he became. He pivoted.
Yes.
Good for him.
That's a great example because I remember seeing Matt Rife like when I was doing marketing with the Laugh Factory. I remember, but he's always jumped out to me because I was like, "Yo, this guy's good.
He's
like,
gonna make it.
He's good. He just got that thing." But that's a great example of someone who does both stand up and the craft of developing the joke. But what I want to know is how you typically, as a stand-up who can draw, how you built your business framework to be able to do that. What are the things you do to build a structured business for yourself?
Well, first of all, you have to understand it is a business. Like I said, show business. Because people love to be like, oh, show my friends, or it's not called show friendship, none of that. So understand it's a business. Understand that having draw power is going to substantially increase the amount of bookings that you get, period. So when you look at it, if you see, they keep putting these in because they have 1 million followers and they hope that some of that million will show up, and you only have 1,000 followers, what are you really doing? Thirdly, it's by understanding where you want to end up. Like any good business, this is a business plan. The difference is it's a Jay-Z line where he's I'm not a businessman, I'm a business, man, right? So that's the idea. We are a business. I am a brand, building your brand, you're great at that, you understand it. You do a lot of marketing and social media aspects, so you understand it. Is who do I want to convey to the public that I am? How do I want to draw? What is my demographic? It's breaking it all down to its values and then working at that. And what I've been successful at is because I know my own weaknesses, my lack of time management, the fact that I'm not good at multitasking, I'm horrible at doing the most. I've been really good at that 80-20 principle. It's called the Pareto principle, right? It's the idea that 20% of any movement does more than that 80%. I'm really good at doing that 20%. So as you've seen from being at the Laugh Factory and me continuing to put on a show week after week and bringing people back, people can't do that. They can't because they don't think of it as a business. They just think, I'm really good, and then because I'm good, people are gonna come. No, if that tree falls in the woods and no one's there to hear it, no one gives a fuck.
So let me ask you this though, to piggyback on Steve's question. Knowing you looked at yourself as a business and knowing how important it was to look at yourself as a business, what kind of decisions did you make differently, right, in your experience that weren't just you saying I'm good? Like, how did you go? Because you weren't on social or you weren't like known as a creator. So how did you go about maintaining that draw, or like what decisions did you make to operate yourself like as a business and a comedian?
So one of the things that I noticed was a trend before. There was a time where if you were famous, everyone knew you. And when I say that, I mean like this. So there was a show called Three's Company. I don't know if either one of you remember it. It was on television. It's a very average television show about this guy who lived with 2 girls, blah, blah, blah. And the main guy, who cares about the actor, he was Jack Tripper on the show. Now, it played a lot of reruns. This is why I say this. You might not have never seen Three's Company in your life, but if Jack Tripper was walking down the street, everyone would be like, that's Jack Tripper.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
There was a time where it's a show, right?
I understand,
and everyone would have known that's Jack Tripper.
Yeah.
You might not have never known Friends, never watched Friends, but you know every single one of the Friends, right? Okay. The flip side is, in today's world, you might be at the grocery store and the guy in front of you has 100 million followers on YouTube, which means they are at any time exponentially 100 times, or sometimes even 100 million times more famous than anyone else. right? And you have no idea who they are. You have zero clue, not even a little clue.
Yeah.
Like you have never heard, and even when they tell you, oh, I am Mr. Beast, I am whoever,
'Cause I'm
you
not
might
tapped in.
zero, because now we can specify exactly what we want. Even with porn, I can go in and be like, I want a left-handed girl who rides in a black wheelchair, who does butt plugs, but only buys them from San Francisco. And that porn clip will pop up.
Yeah.
And it will populate for me.
Yeah.
I can specify that. There was a time everyone watched the same porn. Jenna Jameson
Yeah.
was the only porn star, and
Yeah.
everyone had to watch this bitch whether you liked her or not.
Yeah.
So now that we can specify our own art, what I was really good at was realizing that there's a shift from fame to popular. And I became very popular. So I'm a very popular person. So when you go somewhere and you go to the show, everyone is there for me because we've created a connection where I'm very popular. Now, I have to transcend this and multiply it, but that's the new fame, right? So even when you look at a lot of superstars, Matt Rife might be the last of that line. Tiffany Haddish, Matt Rife, you're still looking at like someone from a couple years ago and beyond.
Yeah.
Going in the future, I don't know if there will be any more superstars. There'll be stars, but there won't be superstars. So right now, if I say, name some amazing rappers, go. Just name rappers.
Hove, Gucci, Common, Wyclef.
Boom. Name them. Name some rappers. Quick.
Donnie Bravo used to be a pretty good one.
Donnie Bravo.
You know what I'm saying?
No, name some rappers.
I mean, Drake, Kendrick,
Boom,
Future, NBA YoungBoy, Boosie.
Great. Why have none of you named someone that's come out in the last 5 years? Because we don't even remember the people who came out in the last 5 years.
Oh yeah, nah.
Boss Man came out, and
Boss
maybe
Man,
some people
D-Lo,
know
I've been
him.
bumping him a
sure.
lot.
And however, if you go through, you know how many people
get what
don't
he's
know
saying.
who
No,
he is.
I agree with
They
you.
have no idea who he is.
Yeah.
So what Boss Man can do is he can go to every city and sell out 1,000-seater.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, he can sell 1,000 people in any city. Maybe even because he's so big,
Maybe
5,000.
yeah, maybe
But he's not doing those 50,000 amphitheaters like some of the other artists that you all both mentioned, right?
Right.
However, the democratization of entertainment has made it so that something that didn't exist before, that middle class of celebrity, could exist. And so now, if you do work and you work at you can actually have a viable business that sustains yourself
Yeah.
for a very long time, and you couldn't do that before.
But
you were
yeah.
either homeless or Drake.
On.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
But so I think you did some things that are interesting that you probably didn't mention to people that are watching. Like when you go to it, you have the longest running show at the Laugh Factory. You've been doing Comedy Bazaar for 12 years. And you used to have a Monday and a Thursday
Monday,
show.
Thursday, yeah. Tehran Thursday.
If you've been to the Laugh Factory,
Even if you've traveled to LA, which days, just like clubs, which days are your hot nights?
Yeah.
And the Thursday, Monday's a hard draw.
Yeah.
First of all, most people go to work, even though LA isn't a working class. But you, like, at the end of every show, you always offer free tickets, right? That's an upsell. In marketing, that's an upsell. Oh, here's your bonus after you already purchased. And I look at that and I go, oh, this is brilliant. They're actually responsive to it. I also wanted to know, did you have a text or email list? Because, like, you do have a high retention, like, your retention for customers is extremely high.
Text for sure, because there was a time where that was a viable source of information for everybody. But now, what do? As soon as we get that, we throw it in the spam, we throw it in the draft. So what I did was go beyond that and create that Instagram, Twitter connection with people, meaning that I reach out, I respond to everybody. I stay as accessible as possible. And I'll tell you why that's important. It's because now we live in the age of accessibility, where you tweet Rihanna, or ex-Rihanna, or whatever it's called now, right? And you expect her to respond. And when Rihanna doesn't respond, people actually get upset. So we live in that age of accessibility where your stars are as accessible, and that's what the future is going to be. As we go into that virtual reality and everything, it's all about accessibility. NBA is going to have virtual reality games where you'll see, sure, there'll be 20,000 people in there, but you know what you'll see even more? You'll see 100,000 people with goggles on who have
Feel like they're in
courtside
there.
because they feel like they're there.
yeah.
That's the thing. It's creating a personal connection. That's what good businesses do now too. If you notice, a good business creates a personal connection with each and every one of their customers. Where the
Genius.
customer creates, that connection creates brand loyalty.
Yeah, I actually remember going to a show. I was on the date, And this is probably, man, 8 years ago. So I go to the show. I was already cool with Tehran. He, man, pull up Thursday. I'm like, all right. My man took care of me. I walk in, everything free, drinks. I'm like, all right, got a little bit extra budget for the drinks. We did 4 instead of 2. And my man had me front, center, middle. So, you know, thank you for that. Gave me the shout out during the show and everything like that. So the young lady I was with, I was feeling like the man. My man had me put up right. Like he stopped the middle. I had just dropped the mixtape at the time. So my guy stops the show in the middle of the show. We at the Laugh Factory. It's packed, right? They already looking like the girl was pretty. I look like I could be an athlete, whatever. They're like, this black man. So my man stops the show. Not stops, but gives me a brief intermission. He does his thing in between comedians. He's like, yo, I just want to give a shout out to my guy, Donnie Bravo. He just dropped an amazing project. Everybody in there's giving me a round of applause. I'm on a high. I'm feeling like the man. And the show was amazing, bro. And I remember coming out of the show that I saw a lot of the other comedians, which is nothing bad, but like they came to do their set, they might have had a drink, and they got the fuck out of there. You know what I'm saying? Like they're on the way home. Yeah. And I remember being outside at the let out of the Laugh Factory, and I saw him talking to everybody. You know what I'm saying? And people are like, oh, bro, you so funny. He's, yo, give me your Instagram, give me your socials. He's working the crowd. Every person out there. He's out there building that community. And that's when I was like, oh, this guy gets it from a business standpoint. Not that those other comedians had to do that, but they weren't going to be remembered like he's remembered. They're not going to come back to see them. They might have been like, okay, there's a million comedians. People, if you're at the Laugh Factory, you're probably funny. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm a ha-ha chuckle, but like, I'm not going to be like, I'm locked in with you. I want to know where you're going to be. Are you going to come to my city? Like you said, these people are guests. They might be from Ohio. Like, yo, like, they don't know. And for you to give them that level of access, I saw the looks in their eyes. They look like happy to be talking to him. Like, wow, oh, you're talking to me? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, they didn't, that connection was of such value to these people, and I could see how that created and separated you on a business level from your competition. What else do you feel like contributed to making Tehran's story different and making it what it is? You know what I mean?
So just for clarification for those, so my background is I'm half Persian, I'm half Iranian and half black, which is already more of a unique mix. It's a very minority of a mix. And then I have a unique family background with religions going Muslim, Christian, Jewish, Zoroastrian, all in the same mix. And so I'm always a bridge. Now, the reason why is because while people are trying to get fans, I'm trying to build a community. Where I'm building a community where it's basically my tribe. And this tribe can sustain you, right? So yeah, I might not be able to fill out that amphitheater yet, but I can do that 1,000-seater show everywhere I go. And it's with people who are there, and they're there to have a good time, they're there to have fun, and most importantly, they're there for me. Yeah. They feel that. And so that's what I'm saying on the micro level. And what else I do, and most importantly, is I'm not just up on stage hoping that people can relate to me. I'm hoping that the individual can relate through me, right? So it's kind of like a reverse Voldemort, where he breaks his soul up into 7 Horcruxes in order to live forever. I live forever by giving every single person at my show a piece of my soul, as much as possible. Which is why a lot of artists are, especially the better artists, are so exhausted once they're done performing, because they've given a piece of themselves. And so I give that piece, and I do that extra, and I stay outside. And people might forget what you say, but they always remember how you made them feel. And I want everybody who leaves my show to leave with a positive vibe, with good energy, because that's what my comedy is really about. And good comedy makes you laugh, but great comedy makes you think. So I try to create content and where people are thinking, they're vibing, they're laughing, but they're also maybe a little bit learning. And when they walk out, they feel just a little better than they did when they walked in.
That's interesting to me, because your framework is going to tell you like how you. I hear Chick-fil-A customer service, honestly. Chick-fil-A has the best customer service program, and it's a trained program. I studied.
In-N-Out.
Okay, fair enough.
I'm giving In-N-Out 1.
Not big enough.
True.
Not big enough. True. But that level of like precision to, I have a customer in the audience, let me make sure I mention them so they feel warm. right? You're talking about the service that you provide your product is the comedy, but the service is your relatability.
Provide service,
right?
customer service, the whole
Yes, it's the same thing with products online and how do I make you feel? What's my packaging? All of it. That's a part of the entertainment package, right? Now, does that limit your success that you can have or not so much?
In a way it does, because I am, like, I own a business. Like, I own an In-N-Out, except I'm also I'm the cashier, I'm the janitor, I'm the cook, I'm the manager. I have to be everything, right? When you get to a point where you can have a team that does it, you need to have trusted individuals who can be an extension of who you are as a person. But I never want to limit that personal touch that I give. So it does at times, but the concept is we don't have to do this. We get to do this. So yes, I am tired. Yes, I am exhausted. Yes, I am extremely blessed that I get to do this. I get to go on stage in an hour and make people laugh, and that is how I make money. And that's something that's a blessing. So I'll never complain about all those things. There's a way I wish I could sell myself in a ball or duplicate myself, but that's the concept, right? So hopefully what I'll be able to do is utilize technology in order to do that. And that's why it's a blessing to live in the time we are now, because we are in the best of times, worst of times, a very Charles Dickens moment in history, where we are looking at things like, oh, AI and everything's gonna take our jobs, or it's going to make your job easier. Or it's going, if you utilize it correctly, you'll do better. That's what social media did. That's why we got SoundCloud built more careers than Def Jam.
Yeah.
SoundCloud.
Yeah.
Just the platform where you could go and find and be like, I actually like this.
I used
And you
to love
voted.
that. Yeah.
So the idea of it is, I just want everybody to vote for me. Vote for me. Come to a show. Get that feel. And I'm not everybody's cup of tea, but the people whose cup of tea I am, I hope they keep buying tea from me.
So how do you, though, like you mentioned that, like having a team, right? And you're continuously looking to get to bigger levels regardless of how much you've accomplished. How do you go about like scaling your brand and building out a team, but at the same time maintaining your relatability, right? Because like you said, you can't, there's only one you. So how do you look at, and I know in entertainment specifically, a lot of people are very particular. Entertainers are particular about how they build out a team. We talked off camera about whenever somebody's that first, second employee, sometimes it's real touch and go because they can actually mess your brand up or limit opportunities because they said no to something you might say yes to, or they treated somebody who you have a good relationship with like poorly. So how do you go about scaling and building the team and building your brand, but still maintaining?
By looking at it as a team, by understanding that we are all in this together, we're all in to win, we're all looking at the same goal, we're all looking at the same prize. A lot of people don't even look at their interactions or relationships like that, and they don't realize that that's what you're doing wrong. The idea is everybody on a team has a position they play, and they have to play that position well. If Shaquille O'Neal tries to dribble and Allen Iverson tries to be a center, you're gonna lose.
Yeah.
You need to put together a team where it's an extension of you and make sure that you're all on the same page, same wave, and same energy. And be careful, and don't be afraid to cut or get rid of those who are not. That's real simple. Like, a lot of people have friends and they're like, oh, we've been friends, blah, blah, blah. When you look at great people, how many times have you seen the interview and they're like, oh, I was good friends with Brad Pitt, but then he changed. It's, yeah, why didn't you? You know what I'm saying? Why didn't you also change? Why didn't you? You can't talk butterfly talk to caterpillars. So find yourselves a bunch of butterflies who are willing to play their part. If you're like, let's examine one of the greatest content creators of our time, 50 Cent. Look at what he was able to do. Why do you know the names Lloyd Banks, Young Buck, and what's Yayo,
Yeah,
Tony Yayo?
yeah.
Why do you know these names?
Let's cut really quick. Your camera over here. Your mic on?
I was about to ask him about touring, but
I'll
I'm gonna
come
just get back to that.
All right.
Okay, so we're gonna jump into some bullshit. I got a couple questions because, all right. First of all, Tehran, you're one of my favorite people, not comedians. You're one of my favorite people because I remember when I first started working at the Laugh Factory, you're one of the first people that I met. Well, especially I was a comedian. And the way you treated me, you didn't have an ego. It was like, oh, you're Steve? Oh, nice to meet you. I'm such and such. The personal touch of community, that made me feel like you was my real friend. Even if you were pretending,
But that's the thing, I'm not pretending. That's why here's the thing, and it even comes across in music. People feel authenticity, which is why two rappers rap about drugs and money, but one we believe and the other we just don't. And that's a real thing.
You
So
don't
I'm
know why.
authentically just being me.
Yeah, no, that's true.
And-
This is something you did though. I was in the back of the Laugh Factory parking lot on the office side, right? And my car, I had a 2004 Cadillac that I drove from Texas to LA. That was like fresh out of college. Bro, that was fucking trash ass car, right? Boom. Somehow I locked my keys in the car and I couldn't get in. Tiffany Haddish walked past me. She's like, oh, she thought I was like some dangerous person or some shit. She's like, what you doing back here? Ah! Boom, she went to do her set. And then you come back there and you're like, you just were walking to your car, I guess. And you were like, oh, you need help. I could call AAA for you, or I know how to break into cars. I used to be a thief or some shit like that.
I never said that either. I have no idea what you're saying.
You did.
I don't remember this happening. I never said that.
No, but when that happened, I was like, wow, I fuck with this guy. But long story short.
I took the time to help you in a time where you felt like you needed some type of assistance. Whatever it was.
Absolutely. I'll never unappreciate that. I can never thank you enough.
That's just
for
my character. I wasn't trying to do something, obviously. Because here's the thing. What's really funny is not only do I not remember that, I also don't remember the story you're saying. I obviously, we've known each other a long time.
Hollywood ass nigga.
You know what I'm saying? No, it's not. You know what the thing is? Because, and it's actually a show that it was authentic
That's
so
just
much
what
that
you
it
do.
didn't stand out in my mind as, oh, remember the
I'm
time
doing
I
this.
did this?
Yeah, yeah.
That's not even how it went off. I just did my natural inclination of doing something.
Yeah.
And so to you, it stood out as a memory in your mind. To me, it was just another show, but I meant it.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? You don't remember how many times you said, how are you to someone?
Fact.
Yeah.
Because it's just, if you meant it, then you just said it.
And I think because it comes in times where, or scenarios where you're not expecting you to be like that, and I think that's something that probably helped you set yourself apart. That's who you are, but also who you are is very unique in this space, in entertainment, in LA. You know what I mean? People are not helping you.
People aren't as authentic when they're here because there's so much pressure to make it.
Exactly.
That you're like, I have to do what's right. I'm looking around, who's the most important person in the room?
Right.
And I'm looking like, who's the person in the room that I'm speaking to, period.
Fact.
It's okay. Because another thing is you never know who someone will become.
Yeah.
I knew Donnie from DC, okay?
Yeah.
So I knew Donnie from the DC. We have a mutual friend, Dante and Trav and all them, okay? So I knew you from back then. You was coming to party. You was at the Howard stuff. You was doing stuff.
Big
Fast
parties.
forward to, come to LA. You're doing music.
Yep.
You're not doing. Next thing you know, I'm walking into an office, right? I'm walking to an office for an audition for a hosting job. And you know who's one of the big decision makers? Him. Donnie's there as one of the people. And you know what? I didn't know any of this leading up to this.
None of
but
that.
that's what I'm saying. You never know who someone becomes.
Yeah.
Steve and I are cool. You're working social media, and to be fair, I didn't specifically need the Laugh Factory social media because I utilized my own stuff.
Yeah.
So I wasn't the guy hitting you up like, why is this, post this, do that. None of
Yeah.
that. I'm just cool with you. Fast forward to, you're now running social media for a big, major collaboration, jewelry, trend company. And who do you bring in to create content?
True.
You were like, let me think of who can create original content, which by the way, the content we created was very fire.
Yeah.
Very quick, very smart, and really did
Yeah.
a specific job. That's what I'm saying. You never
That's
know.
for PlayStation.
That's a gem for everybody out there, man.
Yeah.
Stop waiting until. My dad used to always tell me, man, build the relationship before you need the person. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of y'all got to stop that bottom feeder. Since we talking bullshit, that's something that really gets to me, especially here
real.
in LA. Let me figure out who you are before I figure out how to treat you.
Yeah.
There's two reasons I want to tell y'all why that's some dumbass shit to do. Number one, you're outing yourself, right? Like, let's just say if you don't care about the moral part of it, like, you're already outing yourself as somebody who's only going to treat me good because of who I am, which means if your goal is to get something from me, you're not going to get the goal. You know what I'm saying? If I'm like, yo, all right, I'm going to just treat you around this way because he can do comedy and I'm going to book him down the line to do a show. It's like, bro, even if that's all I wanted, guess what? You're not about to get it. So now you're outed and I'm not in good graces with you anymore because it's like, yo, you can see what I'm on and then I don't end up getting what I want.
From you. Here, I actually disagree with you. I think it's actually a very successful way of doing something, which is why a lot of those people do end up being successful. There's no longevity to it. And the
Yes.
truth is they can't sleep comfortably. You know why? Because then they always look at other people as if how they are thinking. So when I play poker, I know the guy's bluffing when he calls me out for bluffing when I have the best hand. That means he bluffs all the time. That's how they are. So once they start being that person, then when they make it, they're looking at everyone like that, and they never have real friends. And the truth is, authenticity in anything you do, authenticity will always take you further because you never have to remember who you're supposed to be. You'll just be you. So that's why. And people like you are authentic person. Energy never lies. And so you recognize it. But most people don't.
It just looks exhausting to me
It
to
is
be doing that
exhausting.
shit. You know what I'm saying? Like I gotta
They can't last.
like the Dragon Ball Z. Let me see his power score. Like let me see how much clout he
Nah,
got
that's-
before I.
that.
Like bro, like that's
That
not
is
timely
funny.
to you. Like you just be yourself.
They
Like I
can't
don't
sustain it.
understand
It's
that. Like
it's sustainable to always be yourself. That's why when we see
Yeah.
authentic people,
You
when we see
recognize it.
authentic,
Yeah.
you and an authentic person, Snoop Dogg. There's no reason Snoop Dogg should still be famous today. Okay? Gin and Juice came out 25 years ago. But you know why he's still famous? Because he always stays relevant and he always stays true to himself. He's always dog. No matter what he does, he's not trying to be this and he's not. He was himself from day one and he's still that. Still every generation of people. This is 3 generations of people now respect him. Three
That's
generations
true.
of people.
When I was at the Laugh Factory, that was my point of studying comedy from, I guess that was maybe 2015. And from that point, I feel like I studied comedy so much. So I remember I met you. I met Tiffany Haddish. I met Matt Rife, Marsha Bronny, Chris D'Elia. Chris D'Elia's hilarious to me, by the way. When I saw you, I was like, yo, this guy's a fucking superstar. Chris Rad, I didn't understand his comedy. It was really slow. And you were the first person to go, yeah, but that's
He's a
his
star.
style.
That's his style.
Yeah, you told me that
a
Chris
star.
Rad was a star. And I was
Before
like,
everyone else thought it.
yes, before anybody thought he was a star, I didn't get it. I was like, I don't get it. I get he's funny. I see the funny, but I don't understand it. And you were like, no, style. Now I start
It's the
understanding
energy.
style
Exactly. It's the
of
energy.
comedy, right? And I'm going, and then he goes to SNL, and I'm like, oh shit. I guess let me understand how to read comedy. Now Tiffany Haddish, I remember her.
Star.
I never understood her style of
It's not your
comedy
cup of tea.
though.
So not everyone likes pizza. Not everyone likes hamburgers. Not everyone likes hot dogs. Whatever substitute, whatever, right? Spaghetti. But that doesn't mean that it's not incredibly edible and everyone. There are a lot of people that like it.
Right.
And what is it useful for? Tiffany Haddish has a lane, and that lane is something if you saw ahead. So a tastemaker is someone who sees something before everyone else sees it. You see what's going to happen next. If a song is already hit and everyone likes it, that's not the. You have to hear the song before everyone likes it and be like, this is going to be a hit. That's what you're looking at, right? Tiff is a star. And number one thing that people need to realize, while people are looking at Tiffany for comedy or for content, it's not that. What you're really looking at Tiffany Haddish for is authenticity. When she's on that red carpet and she's excited to be there and she's fangirling about being a fangirl at a place where she has more fans than almost everyone there, that's her authentic self. She's being the realest, truest Tiffany. So when people like to mock her or stalk her or talk shit about her, whatever they're doing, then they're doing themselves a disservice because she's just being herself. She's not trying to be anyone. And that's what makes her great.
Is it discouraging as a comedian if you see somebody that's less funny than you and then they take off before you? Is that discouraging or does it not matter?
The idea of it is it can either be discouraging or encouraging based on if you're a hater or not. So to me, it's extremely encouraging because two things. First of all, I love seeing people around me win because it lets me know that maybe I have a chance. More importantly, my chance is coming up. And secondly, I also at times when I see people who I think aren't on the same level, I'm like, well, if they can do it, then I'm going to do this.
For sure.
So it's more important, like when you see Victor Wembanyama dunk, sure, he's supposed to dunk. He's 12 feet tall.
Yeah, I'm never
But
doing that.
When you have what's the little short dude name in the NBA? What was his
Nate
name?
Robinson?
Yeah, Nate Robinson. And what was the other guy's name too? There was another one.
Muggsy Bogues.
Muggsy.
Yeah.
When you see them two dunk, that's when you're like, yo, I need to work hard. I can dunk.
Yeah.
Because it's important when Shaquille dunks, Shaquille's supposed to dunk. Oh my God, most powerful dunker of all time. Oh my, he's supposed to.
Yeah.
But when you see Muggsy or Nate dunk, you have to be like, wait, what did they do to dunk? Because they can do it anyway. So Dave Chappelle is an outlier. Okay, this guy's a genius.
Yeah.
And I have so much respect. Dave Chappelle's first of all, he's my favorite comedian by far, but he's also one of my favorite people. Okay, he's brilliant. Even when you're just talking to Dave, it's brilliant. You know who else I respect on the same level? Is Kevin Hart. And Kevin Hart's not the comedian Dave Chappelle is. I think even Kevin Hart would attest to that.
Yeah.
But you know what Kevin Hart is? Kevin Hart is one of the hardest working, most pleasant people. And his brilliance, his genius, okay, comes out in another way. And that's why his comedy was so elevated. Was because he created a different lane. He's not Dave Chappelle, right? And Kevin Hart, well, people like, oh, whatever they say, that guy works. And you know what? You can be Kevin Hart. You put in that 26-hour day.
Yeah.
You can be Kevin Hart. You can be Ryan Seacrest.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think with him and people like him in that lane, and like,
And he's funny.
yeah,
He's
and
funny.
he's
Obviously,
funny.
we know.
But I think
all right. We'll never forget
as
that.
we talk about building a brand and being a business, I don't think, regardless of race or gender or whatever, I don't think there's a comedian who embodies building a brand and being a business the way that Kevin Hart
nobody.
does. Like,
10 out of 10.
it's just like,
It's
to
not
me,
even
I just
close.
told somebody this the other day, I'm like, yo, respectfully,
sure.
I love you, Kevin Hart. Nigga, I'm tired of seeing you on every credit card commercial.
That's funny.
Every
You know
billboard.
what?
I'm like, yo, I can't. I'm just like, yo, you got $1 billion gajillion, nigga, go
Doesn't-
away.
no,
But
that
he's like, yo,
nigga's
no,
genius, bro.
Yo, listen, I'm not. He's working.
Yes.
Like he's still at the Laugh
And
Factory.
that's
every
why.
Yeah.
And he, by the way,
And a lot of
he
people
shows
say
up.
that. A lot of people say that. It's hard though. It's very
He's
hard to
inspiring
get.
to me.
To get to his level. And this nigga, and I find that, you know, me, if I had made my first $10,000, I'd take my foot off the gas a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Like back then, not now.
I
But like
know.
I was always like, when I started to get success, I would get more comfortable, and it's a natural thing, 'cause especially if you worked hard for it. But it's extremely commendable. As much as I'm tired of seeing him on every commercial, it's extremely commendable for his level of success to still be working like that, bro. That's because it ain't the money. You already have the money. He's not. It's like, bro, if he works and makes another $100 million, Kevin Hart's lifestyle isn't gonna change.
Yo.
So he ain't doing it for the bread. He's doing it off of strict ambition and trying to stay in his
And the
position.
legacy.
And
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 he's
his legacy.
building a legacy
And that's
where
commendable. That's
Hard
commendable.
House, this, and you know what else?
And he creates opportunities for people.
Opportunities.
Yeah, yeah.
That man opens the door.
Yeah, he opens the door for
He
a lot of
opens the door. Dave Chappelle opens the door. Tiffany Haddish opens the door. That's something we should also commemorate and respect and show admiration
True.
for.
Absolutely.
They hold, and they don't just open the door, they hold it open. Dave Chappelle takes people he believes with on tour and gives them opportunities.
He
and
does a
space.
lot.
Kevin Hart, Heartbeat, everything. They are looking and hungry for the new people, and from anywhere from BT Kingsley to on down. They're like, oh, okay, we'll give you a chance. I mean, and London Hughes and everybody that they work with. So that's something else that I admire.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is, Kevin Hart didn't overnight. Everyone thinks success is overnight. Took 25 years for Tiffany's overnight success.
Yeah.
Took 22 years for Kevin Hart's.
Yeah.
Took 12 years for Matt Rice because we started comedy at the same time.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I see it happen.
Yeah.
So I'm just waiting for my time and hoping when I get the opportunity, I'm ready. That's the difference also between sketch comedians, bringing it back. Sketch comedians and stand-up comedians is, sketch comedian knows how to be funny for 30 seconds or a minute, and now you have to learn that skill. It's a skill to learn how to be funny on stage, to present, to do more, to have direction, can you be funny for 22 minutes in a sitcom, for an hour show? Can you be versatile? Can you do these things? And some can. And I watch Batch work, and I watch Desi work. I watch Natalie Friedman work. Their work ethic is par none. And you cannot shortcut.
That's
Cannot.
process.
There's no shortcut to longevity. There is none.
Let me ask you this
Practice
though,
makes perfect.
to that note, real quick though, because I see like in all art forms, there's people who are like you just said with Shaq Duncan, even in sports, there's people who are, yeah, they work hard, but like the majority of why they got to where they were was
Sure.
natural talent. With comedy, like what's the ratio? Are there people who can just be so naturally talented that they could succeed without hard work? Like, yo, this is just a funny. Like when I watch my Epps, I'm just like, this is just a funny motherfucker. I don't
100%.
know how much he got to work at this,
And
but
what I'm
like
saying
when
is-
I see him, I'm just like, he's just naturally.
like the
Is it
rapper.
possible to be that funny naturally?
Just like the rapper, we make it look easy.
Yeah.
Mike Epps hits clubs.
Yeah.
Mike Epps tours. D-Ray tours. Like anything anyone say with D-Ray's pound for pound one of the funniest comedians. Mike Epps is one of the funniest comedians. Godfrey is one of the funniest comedians.
funny.
Pivoted. into
Oh, Godfrey?
social media.
Yeah.
Godfrey is brilliant. Godfrey is brilliant.
I'm not familiar with his game.
No,
I'm not.
Godfrey?
you don't know Godfrey.
Soul
I know
Plane,
who he is, but I'm not familiar with his
He was the
comedy.
co-pilot in Soul Plane.
I know, but
No,
I'm not
but
familiar with his comedy.
oh my gosh, Godfrey.
I'm not. I'm really
Godfrey's
Nah, he's
hilarious.
funny.
So what
His
I'm saying,
impressions are great.
but Godfrey hits
I
clubs.
saw his
Godfrey does
impressions.
3 to 5 shows a night when
I
he's
gotta
at
watch
work.
Godfrey.
Mike Epps does show after show.
So they're all working. They're all
So what
working.
people don't realize is practice makes perfect. Hit as many mics as possible. There's no shortcut to success.
So there's no possibility
Is that
that
a
somebody
pause
could be,
moment? Hold on.
What?
Hit as many mics.
Man,
I don't
Yo,
know.
listen,
I don't
not for our sponsors.
I'm a grown man. I don't.
So listen,
You know what
so-
I'm saying? Suck as much dick as humanly possible.
Is it possible though?
Tehran said, "Suck as much dick as humanly possible."
Jamie Foxx dick is the dick.
Is it possible though? Let's say, is there a person on the planet who is so naturally funny
Yeah, of course.
that
I'm
they
sure.
don't have to put in that work and they can still succeed? That's what
I'm sure there
Yeah.
is. There's, but I'll say this. Look, even Allen Iverson, when he didn't want to practice, they sent him to China.
Yeah.
And he was amazing.
Yeah.
My thing
And
is
he was
this,
cold
sure,
without really put,
There are a
like-
lot of people. There are
Yeah.
a lot. Oh, he did. He does not take away from his work ethic. There's a lot of people. A lot of girls want to be Cinderella.
Yeah.
But you know what? Sure, that's an outlier.
Yeah,
But most
yeah.
of the time, if you lose your shoe after midnight, you're a whore.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's always going to be that outlier. But why take that risk when you? Most of the things that you can do take no talent,
Right.
right? Energy, attitude, work ethic, timeliness,
Mm-hmm.
thinking on your feet, being nice to people. All these things take no talent whatsoever, and they will get you ahead
Further.
9 out of 10 times. So why not do those things too?
Yeah.
So my thing is this: to anyone who just thinks pure talent, it's not.
Yeah.
It's not.
And you're probably more than likely you're not that good.
And
Like no one's that good.
hard work beats talent every single time. Talent doesn't want to work hard.
Mm-hmm.
So put in that hard work.
So the flip reverse, because I know there's a lot of creators and stuff that follow Steve and myself, artists, whatever. The flip side of that. What if you're, because I have friends that have been doing creative pursuits for a long time.
Sure.
And I'm just like, I'm never going to tell the homie like, yo,
Let
you
it
should
go.
stop rapping, bro. Or like, you need to stop going up there telling them jokes. Like, I'm not the guy to say that.
Sure,
so
there's
it,
time.
can hard work by itself with
Yes.
the lack of talent?
Yes.
Can that get you?
Yes, but then you have to find a lane in which that works, right? So what they're doing is they're working hard, but now they're not working smart. And there needs to be a combination. If you work smart, you can be like, are we sitting there thinking that Soulja Boy is the best rapper? Or did Soulja Boy find a lane, stick to his lane,
And win
Chief
hard with
Keef stuck to this lane where if I took Chief Keef's lyrics and I handed it and I was like, hey, RZA from the Wu-Tang, RZA, RZA, it's 1995 right now. Hey, this is
This is what-
but you
No,
know what?
That's a great comparison.
That's a great
Yo,
comparison. Yeah.
put it, and yet what happens is the way he did it, you can be a genius in your lane. That's what Chief Keef
That's
is.
a
A
gem.
genius in his lane.
Yeah.
And when I was talking about
Wow.
authenticity, right? When T Grizzly got out of jail
Yeah.
and put out that first song, you know why? It wasn't that was the best song. We believed him.
Oh, yeah.
And now we don't. But at that time, we believed him.
Wow.
So authenticity, staying in your lane, putting in that work. And another thing about the work, going back once, I always use these music because people are much more familiar with music and music artists, right? We saw someone who kind of worked, but they had early success and they didn't earn it. And what happened to them? Fetty Wap. His first album, it was just fluke amazing.
Yeah, his first
and
year
he
was
could never,
just,
ever, 18 months from Trap Queen 0 to Trap Queen, the big hit. 18 months. That's one of the shortest rises in music. Okay?
Yeah.
And that was no industry plant. That was just
No, yeah,
undeniable.
yeah.
That song was
His songs were
undeniable.
fire. That whole
His
little run he
songs-
went on was
the
crazy.
run. What happened? He could not replicate it or duplicate it because he didn't earn it. My biggest
Too much,
fear,
too fast.
if I was all of a sudden tomorrow gifted with Superman's powers, I would be afraid to fly because my biggest fear would be I didn't do anything to get this power. So what if I'm in the middle of the flight and my power just shuts off because I didn't earn it? I would just fall down and hit the ground.
Yeah.
So if you earn
That'd be
it,
tragic.
you never ever think that.
Yeah.
You'll never worry about
I
that.
never doubted it.
Jordan never had to worry about it because he earned
That's
it.
what they always say in the NBA. I practice this shot. Like,
Yeah, what'd he say? Jordan, how was it that you were always hitting that last second shot? Because I practiced that shot all the time regardless.
Yeah.
The thing about failure is this, it's not the opposite of success, okay? When you look at any business, it's failures, but I guarantee you, I failed many times, but I never failed the same way twice. I never failed the same way twice. I'll feel like this and then learn and then feel like that, then learn and keep growing. And that's the thing people have to understand. Slow work, right? Slow motion is better than no motion. And most people do no motion. They want things, but they don't actually want to do them. They wish.
Social media.
They wish. I wish. When they say, oh, I'm a rapper. Okay, what's your name? Oh, I don't have one. What's your, oh, it's on private. What's your social? It's this. Oh, I don't have that. I don't have that. So you don't want to be a rapper. You just wish you were a rapper. That's the thing most people do. And when it comes to success, that's the realest thing that no one ever talks about. It's number one thing is just being present, being there, looking for, like right now, how far is that door? That's maybe 10 feet away from us, 15 feet. If you got up and ran towards that door, how long would it take you to get there?
2 seconds.
If you walked there, how long would it take you to get there?
15 seconds.
If you crawled on your hands and knees, how long?
A minute and
But if you sat in this chair and looked at that door and was like, man, I want to get to that door, but never got up to go to it, how long would it take you to get there?
Oh, never.
You would never get there. That's what most people do in their lives. They look at the door and they go, I wish I was at that door, and they never get up because it's uncomfortable to try to walk to that door. Because if you go to that door, what if you don't get to the door? What if you trip? What if you fall? What if you get there and then you have to go further? All anything, they make up every excuse in the world not to go to that door. And then one day look back and go, oh man, I could have went to that door. I just didn't want to. Yeah, you did. You just never did it.
Let's cut really quick.
All right.
Talk louder to pick up in
Yeah,
Just a few things before we close that you would want to share with our audience on like actionable items that you could do if you are.
I actually know this one exactly.
Okay.
Yo, if you really want to be successful, you really want to make it, you really want to inspire and aspire to your dreams, the most important thing you can do, and I suggest this for everybody, is follow me on Instagram at I am Tehran, all across the board. IAMTEHRAN. My name is Tehran, like the capital of Iran. So if you don't know how to spell it, literally just watch Fox News. They literally talk about it almost every day. That's really is. I mean, I feel like we gave them so much information.
Yeah.
The truth is, it's all within yourself. No matter what's going on, and of course, there's a lot of things that are always going to be against you. The number one thing is you be for you. So be for you, and you will make it.
Absolutely. All right, man. Well, we appreciate you coming by, man. You know what I mean? To the Business and Bullshit. You know what I'm saying? You're welcome anytime. Y'all make sure y'all really do follow my guy, Tehran, man. And if you're in LA, pull up to the Laugh Factory.
Laugh Factory. Any show that I have, make sure to find me at I am Tehran. I always post. I'll be in a city near you, whether you're in the United States or not. Because we're international, baby.
Yeah,
That's
we
right.
appreciate you, man. And